Derek Wilson here with Variom Racing, up with Matt Lindle coming off the GNCC out of New York. Matt Lindle, long weekend, long drive. How do you feel?
I'm a little sore.
I'm a little sore. What makes a guy like Matt Lindle so sore?
Pretty rough track. It was a learning experience this weekend, that's for sure. Whole new terrain. It was definitely different from what I'm used to.
I was able to talk to Carter Holder, and he was telling me there was some drop-offs. I think he called them geo-drops or something like that. Tell us about the track.
It was not super hilly. I was actually expecting a little more elevation out there where we were. I mean, it had hills, but we've had more in this series so far this year. But it was really, there was a lot of rocks, but it was weird. They weren't real sharp or necessarily, I would guess, stationary. They moved around a lot. It was really kind of slaty and almost gravelly, big rocks that just kind of moved around, following people. They were getting thrown at you a lot.
Really?
It was different, and it just was a whole different experience on the quad, the way it felt, handling and everything for me. I just never experienced any terrain like that before. So it was, the first few miles in the woods it was definitely odd feeling.
Did it feel like you were on marble, like the ground beneath you was continuously moving?
Yeah, it did. At first, it kind of just felt like it was the front end of skating around a little bit. But as I got a little more in the groove and used to it, I could manage it a little bit better, and I didn't notice it as bad. Plus, we got quite a bit of it knocked off the top after the first lap.
The whole shot, from what I saw, looked like you had come out in sixth. I'm not sure what happened after that, but it looked like you did get held up, a little bit of time, a little bit of gap between you and fifth, I believe, for quite some time. How did the whole shot go, and what happened early in the race?
Whole shot was actually awesome. Quad fired, pulled up the hill, was fighting hometown kid Greg Covert, points leader for the whole shot. I went into the first corner right with him, just barely behind him, and then went into the second corner, the whole shot corner, and just tucked right behind him. I was only a quad length off of the whole shot, and then the second corner I got a little bit wide, got into some of the looser stuff, so I ended up losing second place to Marty Christopherson. He took second, so then I was in third and went around the next corner and maintained third, and then we had just a little jog right into the timber, and a kid came up on the side where there were some pretty good bumps and everything, and he just came in a little too hard, hit those bumps, couldn't get slowed down, and ended up tumbling right in front of me, and I ended up, as it was all happening, I hit his quad, and then he tumbled off, and I had it all the brakes locked up, and I slid into him. His quad continued to roll. He was on the ground. I hit him, but not very hard at all. Just kind of bumped his shoulder, and so he jumped right up and was okay. So I took off and ended up being into the woods. My best guess is third to last into the woods.
Okay, yeah, I said that wrong. I should have said after the first lap you came in as sixth, but I certainly didn't see what happened, around then. But that's a pretty wild event. I mean, is that the first time you've seen a body fly in front of you?
Yeah, that's that close. I've seen wrecks in front of me and stuff, but I've never actually hit the rider. I've hit people's quad and had stuff like that happen, but I was a little worried right at first because I thought I was gonna hit him a lot harder. He was going to go under the quad, but
no.
Momentum carried him in enough that I just bumped him with the bumper. Nothing. He popped right back up, so I took off, and he finished the race. Also, I'm sure he was bumped and bruised up, but it was definitely frustrating when something like that happens. I could have went into the woods third place and had that happen, so I was clear back. I had to work my way through, just being held up for quite a while by guys that just weren't quite on the the pace of the top 5. So then I'm get myself into the 6th, 7th position, battling back and forth with the kid in 6th or 7th. We battled back and forth there for about 2 laps, and I got myself in the groove even better there in the second half of the races, like I always tend to, and pulled away from him and just kind of started reeling in the guys in front of me slowly, and that was pretty much how the day went. I was just too far down. I reeled them in as best I could, but it was just it was too much of a learning curve at the beginning, and then being held up at the beginning, it just put me too far down.
I mean, that's part of the idea here with your GNCC run, is certainly an education. I mean, it's unlike any other series because it goes, all over the nation, a change of terrain, change of scenery. So definitely a big plus that came out of that race, would you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was really nice, too. I had one of my main sponsors, Shockworks, Bart Thomas, was there. He traveled with us. So it was nice having him there to help me. He pitted me. Appreciate all that and everything he's done, but just to have him there and discuss it fresh when it's on your mind, and him able to watch and know the track a little bit too, being there and just talk things over and a little bit. He when we got back, he dropped me off back at my house. He took my shocks with him, so we're going to try a couple of things before next weekend. And so it's just, I mean, it is, like I said, it's a big learning curve. The GNCC in general, there's been a few tracks this year that have been at least similar to stuff that I've ran on before, and I've done good at those tracks. The rest of them, it's new to me, and I'm struggling a little bit. There's no doubt about it for myself. I mean, most people would probably tell me to shut up when I'm saying I'm struggling and finishing 15th overall, but as far as I'm concerned, that's not where I know I can be and where I should be in my mind or my opinion. So go ahead. I've just got a lot of learning to do. I mean, there's no two ways about it, and I'm happy with yesterday for sure, because I did a lot of learning. I learned more at that track than I have all year anywhere else, so I'm happy with that.
You've always been really good at sharing your knowledge. I think it'd be great for some of the youth racers out there looking to take the GNCC, not necessarily youth, but anybody looking to take the GNCC, run the same time of day that you run. What are some of those tracks, a few of those tracks similar to what you ran in New York that were very different than your typical riding land?
For me, I'm more growing up around in Iowa here and in Muscatine County, which is a little loamy, sandier ground. I'm more used to those loose tracks, so like the Florida, the Camp Coker, the South Carolina event. Let's see what other ones were. Georgia was not too unfamiliar. The Indianas, most of us around here have at least made the trip over there to the Indiana events, and so we kind of know that soil a little bit. It's not too out of the ordinary, but like the Penton, the Ohio one, and the North Carolina, those are all, Steel Creek and Big Buck. They were all definitely new to me. And then the New York was a big change up, but they're just all so unique. And when you're trying to ride at that high level in the top 20 overall, top 15 overall in the U.S., I mean, it takes knowing the tracks and getting the setup right for each individual track. You can't just go in there with one setup and try and run that same setup on all 13 races. It's just not going to get, you're not going to get your best results doing that.
And correct me if I'm wrong, the only way to gain that experience is put the tires on the ground and get at it, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I understand that as much as I get frustrated and I'm hard on myself this year not getting all the finishes that I want, but I've got to learn it. I mean, all these guys I'm racing against, they've done that coming up through the youth ranks. So I'm just learning it now. I mean, I'm used to the more more Iowa style terrain and get out there where most of those guys are from, the Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania area. It's a whole different soil, and it's definitely a new experience, new challenge.
Speaking of Iowa, what's next on your plate?
Cahokia is this coming Sunday, so a week from today.
And that's one of your favorite tracks, isn't that right?
I like it. Mount Pleasant, I think, is probably my top one in the Iowa series. I like Carlisle last year when it's dry and we get to run the bottom grounds at Carlisle. It's a lot of fun. But when we get around the river bottoms, but the Coke is not a bad track at all. It's got some good technical woods in it, that's for sure.
There'll be a big Variom showing at Cahokia. I believe the Ernst boys are going, and Weppel's going stock fleet in our Iowa series normals. I believe Kobe Nero will also be racing. But a big news on the weekend, Matt, which I think you're aware of, is Carter Holder taking the win at GNCC. That's extremely impressive.
Yeah, I was able to talk to him. He hung out with me in the pits while his dad Brad was out racing, and it was good talking with him and hanging out with him. That's impressive. That's very, very cool.
I've been impressed with all of our youth as far as their racing and who they are as people and their dedication, and being able to watch Matt Lindle, talk to Matt Lindle, go to Matt Lindle's house and ride with him has certainly made a difference. So really appreciate that, Matt. Thanks again for taking the time to catch up with us. People out there helping you, Matt.
Yeah, my sponsors are definitely helped me a lot this year. It's been a ride, learning curve. Shockworks, Bart, like I said, he's been a big help. Variom Racing, Vanilla Gorilla, RJR, 100% goggles, MSR gear, GBC tires, Hauser, A-arms, Spider Graphics, Sunstar chain and sprockets, Gold Speed wheels. They've helped me out big this year.
As always, you're getting better and better at that.
Yeah,
it's a good laugh.
I'm trying.
Doing great. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks to Bart Thomas of Shockworks. Your success continues to climb, and you agree, because we have this conversation quite often, that Bart Thomas and Shockworks is a huge part of that and part of this climb to the top. Your family, I want to thank them personally. Yeah,
the family definitely helped me out a boatload, and Bart, he's been really helping me out with the setup and trying to get some things figured out with that. And I think he's willing to put the time in and the effort and help me progress and try and get better, and just making himself better too, and better understanding of all that. So when he has other guys talking to him, he can help them out more too, and he knows because I'm giving him feedback, and it's working out really well for us, and I'm hoping to keep that going for years to come.
Just to wrap this up, we'll recap a little bit. Last weekend, Matt was in Newark, Missouri for the OMA, and I hope everybody was able to catch that interview. That was quite interesting. Struggle after struggle, overcoming adversity numerous times throughout a race to pull off a second in the overall. Headed to Odessa. Is it Odessa?
Yep.
Okay, I saw some that said Alpine and some said Odessa. So Odessa, New York for the GNCC. Taking a fifth place again. Had some adversity at the beginning of the track, Matt, but you always climb back. You always overcome. I don't know where you're sitting in points right now in GNCC, but I know that ain't bad. And 15th overall in the nation. It's extremely impressive.
Yeah, like I said, I'm happy with it. It's just mostly the learning. I mean, I learned a lot. Yeah, I did. I mean, I learned throughout the day. When I made pit, we got fuel, and I adjusted a few things on the front shocks. Bart and I did, just to try them, because I was down a little bit, so a few extra seconds in the pit wasn't going to hurt me too much, and just to try something a little different, and it definitely helped. So that was a plus. We went in the right direction there, so we know kind of what to do moving forward even more. But I And I picked it up. I mean, I learned as the race went on. Even, I mean, my lap times didn't pick up, but they didn't fall off like everybody else's did quite as bad. So I was actually gaining on them in the end. Almost every rider out there in XC2, I was gaining, or I was within, I think, 2 seconds of them on the last lap. So I mean, I picked up on it as the race went. It just took me a few laps to get it kind of figured out.
Right. I mean, that's something that probably make you look forward to going back there next year at this point.
Oh yeah, I'm always looking forward to next year. I got a lot of learning to do and a lot of testing and setup to figure out and stuff like that. But I'm definitely looking forward to next year. Having at least a little bit of knowledge at all the tracks I think will help me out a lot, and a little experience and kind of just knowing what to expect. I mean, I was going into New York, never even being to the state of New York before, let alone racing in the state of New York. So
that was one of the questions I had for Carter. Certainly, he had never been out East End Road either. So to have that success, your personal success, his personal success, but success as Variom, really appreciate what you're doing, Matt. Continue to be a leader, and you probably don't know this, but everywhere I go, I talk about Matt Lindle. I think people know your name even though they've never seen you. So I think that's impressive. We believe. I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for listening to my story.
I love the story. We love the story. All right, get yourself rested up. Thanks, Matt.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye. Bye.